So, having looked at Emma's case study and analysed what her various options are, there's several thoughts that I've had in relation to them all. The first one in relation to the magazine is that everybody these days seems to be moving online. Anything in print seems to be really old-fashioned, and for such a young market and young target audience, I think that would be the wrong move for her, especially when production costs are so high.
If I was to rule one out, I'd rule out the magazine. An online magazine could be a good route, but it sounds like she's talking about a printed magazine, and I think the startup costs, considering she may not have a readership, are probably going to be quite high.
The only way that I would push for a magazine, a physical magazine, is if you have advertising revenue covered before you start the magazine.
And also you then have to wonder about how do you actually sell that magazine. So it's quite complicated to set up unless you go through an existing publisher.
I think the easiest, or maybe that's the wrong word, maybe lowest risk at the moment would be to develop a blog. I think that would give her lots of different ways to do all of the things she loves. So, you know, she could do a bit with photography, a bit about film.
The blog, I was interested in that. In terms of the market saturation, she'd have to be really, really different in order to get out there and get enough people actually checking in with the blog regularly and reading. But then she could become a thought leader in relation to some of the product testing things and review side that she was looking at.
And that business idea is quite scalable. She might be able to get advertising in the future. And although she does comment that the blogging world is quite a saturated market, it does sound like she's got the ability to stand out in a crowd.
The question is again, how do you actually monetize a blog? So I think the blog is a good idea, but I'll come back to that in a bit more in a second.
If I was to give Emma some advice, I would probably continue with the blog and make sure that you get a critical following. And you can always launch and link the blog to your YouTube channel. People love video, and you can partner with fashion magazines and borrow content from them and link it to your YouTube channel.
YouTube is my favourite option, and I would principally go with that. I know the equipment is expensive, but I think that you can do a really good job with some medium equipment rather than having to go out and buy 25 grand's worth of stuff immediately. I also think that she should approach the Prince's Trust and potentially get a grant in order to set up her business, and she would be able to use that to buy her equipment.
I think option C, which was the YouTube channel, she makes a good point about expensive equipment. I don't think that's necessarily the case, but that could be a good sideline to developing the blog, an additional way of kind of earning income and getting the exposure she might need to stand out in a tough marketplace.
The YouTube channel is rather like the magazine. It's a little bit about the costs for setting it up and then how you actually monetize it and make money from it. The marketing is probably more straightforward with a YouTube channel, but you've still got those issues to think about. So the final option, D, was the one I really liked, which was the online store. I think it's probably, of all the options, the easiest way to start monetizing her skill set.
In relation to that, I was really worried that, again, that would be quite a significant amount of hard work in terms of setting up a supply chain, making sure that you had distributors and supplier agreements in place. For example, if she didn't sell produce or products rather that she'd already purchased, did she have a sale or return agreement? Because obviously she could be significantly out of pocket if those didn't sell. Also things like postage, you know, how would she go about doing that and setting those up? So that seemed to be quite a complex option.
Online store doesn't have to be very expensive. There's a lot of open source platforms that you can use to create your own online store. In the beginning, I would probably recommend that you open the store by using affiliate marketing, so you don't have to physically source every single product.
I think she should maintain a focus on the things that she's really good at, which is the blogging and the journalism. So I'd probably not go for that option in this particular instance. So Emma, I would suggest you develop a blog and maybe have a YouTube channel on the side.
There are some potential concerns really that if she starts using an online store and the product's not good or the service isn't good, this will actually go back and reflect on her blog. But it does give her the potential to develop her own brand of products alongside her blog. So the preferred option for me would be a mixture of B and D, a blog together with an online store.
I would be going with number 2, a blog, and starting to get some people following me and listening to my advice and the things that I had to tell them, being very different and unique, and then pointing them onto YouTube and principally focusing the majority of my effort on YouTube.
In summary, all 4 options are applicable.